Hello, third grade. This week we're going to be creating the snake game. And the first thing you got to do is you got to sign in. So you sign in with your username, and your username is a 22 in your first name and your last name. And then what you're going to do is you're going to click on the character that you have here down here and delete it. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to create a snake. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to go to the character over here. Okay, choose a sprite, and we're going to paint it. Okay, so here's how I would do it. First thing I would do is I would make a big rectangle. Okay, so a rectangle like this. You click on the rectangle and you pick the color that you like. You could make this purple, you can make this green, however you like to do it. Okay, now I got my big square and I draw it like that. Okay, I got my big square like that. And you don't have to have the outline if you don't want to. You could take the outline off, it's up to you. So now we have the head, and now we make the tongue. And you don't have to make this look perfect. Just make it in a general sense. So I click on the paintbrush now. So notice I drew a rectangle with my rectangle here, and I pick my color, right? Now I have to do my tongue. So I don't need the shapes. I do paintbrush, and I can make this paintbrush, make it a little bigger if you want to make the tongue bigger. Maybe I'll make a red tongue, okay, like this. And now I got like this for the snake. Okay, now some people, they like to get fancy, and what they'll do is they'll make a circle. They'll go to a circle, and they make it like that. And then they draw a circle in like this for the snake. Okay, so now you got your snake. Then you take your mouse, you click over here, and my snake is set up, but we're going to make it a little bit of a different size. So don't worry about if your snake looks huge here. You actually want it to look huge at the beginning, because then we're going to make it smaller. So here's how we're going to do our game now. We did our costume, which is the way the snake looks, and then we go to code. Okay, so now we have to code the snake. So the first thing we need to do is we got to do the events. We'll do when click. So what do you want to happen when the flag is clicked? The first thing we need to do is we need to set up a variable. And a variable is something that can change. Okay, so a variable is going to be the score. So we click on variables down here. Okay, so I'll do this slowly. Create variables down here and make a variable. Okay, and what are we going to call the variable? Score. Okay, and this is going to be for all sprites, score. Okay, so I'll show you again once more how I did that. I went to variables, then I went to make a variable, and then I typed in score over here and I clicked OK. Now over here, I'm going to click on that, and now score is going to pop up. Okay, so I click on set my variable and I click the arrow and score pops up. Okay, I'll show you that one more time in case children get confused. So here's what I did. I clicked on variables, then I did make a variable, and I typed in score, then I clicked OK, and then I went over here, and now score popped up, and I changed it to score, and I dragged it over here. So now this means set score to 0. This means in our game, now we have a scoreboard, and our scoreboard is going to start at 0. When you start your game, set your score to 0. Okay, now what else do we want to do? We're going to go to looks, and we want to hide the snake. When we first start the game, we're going to hide the snake. So we go to looks, and we have to find hide. Okay, so when we first start the game, we're going to hide the snake. The score goes to 0, we hide the snake, and then we're going to set the size of the snake to 10%. We want the snake to be small. Okay, so now when I click the flag, score goes to 0, up, and we hide the snake, and the size goes to 10%. Now eventually we got to show him. That's why he disappeared. So don't worry, I forgot about that. I'll put if I click show, he'll come back. Okay, but you don't have to do this yet. But that's how he's going to look. Okay. So I have set score to 0, hide the snake, set size to 10%. Okay, now we have to put where do we want to start our snake. We want to have go to, and we want to, let's start the snake over here. Let's start him over here, -8, 12. Okay, so -8 and 12. Okay, so the Y is up and down, the X is left and right, and wherever you move the snake, you see these numbers change. So you start your snake wherever you want to start him, and then you put that number in the X and this number in the Y, wherever you want to start him. Okay? And then the next thing we're going to do is we need to add in the drawing, and it's not over here. So everybody please pay attention. It gets a little tricky. I have to add in drawing, so I'm going to go over here to this block, add, and I have to add the drawing in. Okay, so add the drawing. So now we got a drawing in here. When we start our game, our score goes to 0, and we erase everything on the board. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to show the snake. Okay, because he's been hidden, and now we're going to show the snake. Okay? The next thing we do, we go down here to pen, and this means pen down means wherever the snake goes, he's going to draw. Just like code.org, we used to do that when he says make a square and he goes up and down, left and right, and he's holding a pencil. Now we're doing that with our snake. Our snake's going, wherever the snake goes, he's going to draw. And what color do you want the snake to be? Set the color here. What color should he be? Let's see. I like maybe like this. Okay, and you pick the color that you like. Maybe a little lighter. It's up to you, whatever you like to do. Okay, you set your color to the snake that you like him to be, and here's the color. And then you're going to put how big you want the snake to be. So now we're going to go to the size. Now, obviously, if this is 20, it's going to be big. If this is 4, it's going to be smaller. So let's make this 5, and that's going to be the snake tail. So what we're telling our computer is when you click your program, make the score 0. Don't show the snake and then make him smaller, and the snake's going to go here. The whole screen's going to be erased, and then we're going to see the snake. So this is our setup, and now the pen is going to be down so that wherever the snake goes, we're going to see the color as green, and his size is going to be 5. And you could change it if you want. Now we're going to go to motion and point in direction. Now here's how you're going to do it. Do you want the snake to go to the left or to the right? If you want him to go to the left, you put it like this, at -90. If you want him to go to the right, you go to 90. So I'll make him -90, that he'll go to the left. Okay, so now we have to determine how we want the snake to move. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do repeat until. Go to control and repeat until. So we're going to want the snake to move. We're going to go to motion, and you could pick 10 steps, 4 steps. The more steps you put in here, the faster he goes. So I'll put it at 5. So we want the snake to keep going 5 steps. When do we want him to stop? We want him to stop when he's touching the edge, and the game is going to stop. So here's how we do. Go to sensing. Okay, sensing. And then we're going to do touching edge. Touching and edge. Okay, so I'll show you again how I did that. So I have the repeat loop here. Repeat until. Repeat until. Then I put the motion. I put the 5 steps in there, right? I drag the steps in there. And now I got to put, when do I want him to repeat until? I want him to repeat until sensing, touching, edge. Okay, so this means the snake's going to keep going 5 steps until he touches the edge. Okay, so let's take a look. We click the flag, and this is not the end of it, but this is just the start of it. We click the flag, and then the snake's going to move, and then he stops when he touches the edge. Okay, so he stops when he touches the edge. The next thing we have to do is we have to give him a point. Okay, so we want him to get points every time he's touching. So then we're going to go like this. We're going to go control, and we're going to wait 1 second, and then we go to variables, and we're going to say change score by 1. Okay, so let's take a look at how this goes now. So now when we start, he erases everything, right? And he goes to the center here, and he's going to make his tail with the color, and this is the size of the tail. You could make this bigger. You point to the left, and he's going to keep going 5 steps until he touches the edge, and he's going to change his point as well after 1 second. So let's take a look. Now I click the flag. Oh. Okay, now he's going like that. And if that's a little too slow, what I could do is I can make this 0.1. I can make this 0.1. Okay? So now he's going a little bit faster. Okay? And our score is changing. Okay, see how our score changes? Now you could make this 10 steps if you want. If you want to make it fast, you make this 10 steps and make this 0.1 to make the game faster. Now he's going much quicker, okay? So now we got our score going, and we have our snake and we have our tail. The problem with our game, though, is we need to make arrows. You have to make arrows to make the game fun, right? So now we're going to go to events, and we're going to take this. Okay, 1 space bar is pressed, and we're going to change the space bar to down arrow. When the down arrow is pressed, motion, point in direction. See this point in direction? So where do you want the snake to go when the down arrow is pressed? You want him to go down, which is 180. Okay, so now when the down arrow is pressed, he goes to 180. I go to events, and I go over here. What do you want to happen when the up arrow is pressed? So I go to space, and I make this the up arrow. I want him to go up. So I go to motion, and I go to point in direction. and I'm going to take the arrow and make him go up. Okay, so now I got up and down. Okay, now what I'm going to do next, left and right. Events, when the space bar is clicked, and I'm going to change it to the right arrow. Okay, what I want to have when the right arrow is pressed. I'm going to go to motion, and I'm going to say point in direction, and he's going to go to the right, which is 90. And then finally, I need my left arrow. Events, and I drag that when the space bar is clicked, and I change it to the left arrow. What I want to happen when the left arrow is pressed. I go to motion, and I'm going to go to point in direction, and I move it to the left. And that's negative 90. Okay, see the arrow points to the left and negative 90. So now I have when the down arrow is pressed, he goes down, up arrow goes up, right, he goes to the right, left, he goes negative 90. And I have my score starts at 0. He goes to hide the snake at the beginning. He gets smaller. Where do I want him to start? You could change these, anything you want. And I erase everything when I start my game. Then we're going to see the snake. You determine what color you want him to be. And you determine the size as well. If you make this a big tail, it looks different over here. And then he's going to keep going, right? Forever. The snake keeps growing. And the score is going to change. And when does he stop? He stops when he touches the edge. So it says repeat loop this until he touches the edge. So let's click the flag and I start my game. And then I go up and down and I go like this and I got my game going here. Okay? And you could keep doing your drawing like this. And wherever I draw now, the snake, he makes his tail. And then when I stop, when he touches the edge. And if you want to make this harder, what you could do is you could make this more numbers. Make this like a 40 maybe, right? Now it will be very tricky. Now he's going, oh, now it's very quick. Okay, so that's how you do your game. When you're finished, you do file. You could do, if you don't have save now, save it to your computer. I should have save now, but I didn't sign in properly. But you could do file, save. You'll have it over there. It will save in your account. If you don't have that, do file, save to your computer. And then at the end, please take a picture of your code and send it to me on Google Classroom. That way I can grade your work.